You know, it's funny you bring that up because I'm doing my next Billboard campaign. I finally settled on it, and I haven't done that weird head on a lamb thing for like I think 8 or 9 years. I kind of moved. I just when you're developing, you're borrowing lots of money. You got to be a bit more serious, I think. Anyway, I decided to go back to that.
Nice.
So this year it's my head on a lamb in a 3-piece suit. The suit's a bit short, so you can see the hairy, and I have a little briefcase beside me, and I'm
The lamb's all grown up.
the lamb's. He's 8 years older.
He's done well.
Yeah. He's serious, but he's still in space. He's still in space.
He's very serious. You know that ad made it to Ellen DeGeneres.
Did it?
Yeah.
I can see why, man. It was very eye-catching.
Hello up there. It's Brad J. Lamb. You too can become a condo millionaire. The Todd Shapiro Show. Canada Laughs. SiriusXM 168.
Brad J. Lamb. How are you, buddy? Do you like that? 3 of us?
Very nice.
Okay. We're nice guys. It's a nice suit.
You like the suit? It's really more of a spring suit, but man, it's like it feels like you're in Vancouver here.
Yeah, it's very mild today, right? It's an interesting day, although now it's starting to snow.
It's like suit weather. You don't have to have a coat.
I've never been to Vancouver.
You should go.
Yeah?
You've never been?
I've never been to Vancouver.
It's great.
It's great.
Awesome.
Is it great?
It's not as. I mean, I would never live in Vancouver, but I think it's a beautiful city. It's tiny, and it's a bit left for me, you know.
Yeah, a lot of tree huggers.
Yeah,
there is that. As a comedian, I'll tell you for sure. Yeah, they're pretty picky.
Are they pretty picky? Yeah, I wouldn't fit
they're
in.
like a lot of hippies, a lot of granola crunchers, surrounded by millionaires who don't care.
a lot of sandals in the summer on men, which
you hate that. See, I like that.
fucking hate that. Men's feet are horrible. I can't eat lunch if I have to look at your feet. Talk them under the table.
That's good to know. In case we ever go for lunch.
Women's feet are a different thing, man.
Do you love women's feet?
Oh, I love women's feet.
That's because they take care of them too.
Oh, I know.
Men just like step on nails and keep going.
Well, they just don't. Yeah,
nails.
Don't take care of them.
Well, they're kind of the same part, though.
There's a lot more hair on men's feet, and they're bigger, and there's fucked up nails and shit underneath them. And guys get this growth on their nails, so the nail looks like Frodo Baggins' foot, you know. And men should wear socks and shoes.
All right.
Anyway,
I kind of want to see your feet now.
now my feet are wonderful.
Do you go for pedicures?
You know, I don't. But I would. It's just a time thing, you know.
Yeah.
It's not. I have so many things I got to do in a day that just doesn't get it done. I need to go for manicures because I have a very bad habit of picking the skin around my fingers. I'm not
You
even
do,
thinking about
eh?
it. Yeah.
That's amazing because that's a tell, right? Like if you were playing poker, that would be a tell.
It's like when I'm thinking, I'm not thinking about this. I'm thinking about something else, and I get sort of lost in a trance of thought, and I'm like, "Fuck, I'm bleeding." Do it all the time.
Some guys bite their nails. Do you ever bite your nails?
As a young kid, I did.
I just constantly rub my nail against a nail. Yeah. Like it'll just be. But my girl, I didn't know I was doing it until my girlfriend would just suddenly grab my hand and go, "You need to stop that."
It's fucking annoying for sure.
Yeah, for everyone but me.
Yeah.
Man, I saw a great E-Blast, and I felt like I thought it was sort of this inclusive club, but it turns out still a lot of your great customers over at Brad J. Lamb about your new project, Television City, and it's in Hamilton, a big booming economy, something that. And as an aside, let me just say, you've been on the program, I think, for like 8 months now. Every single thing you've said, and this isn't because you're a sponsor on the show, but everything you've said, if people followed your advice, everyone would be doing well. There's like literally not one. If we were to reconcile every tape, you've nailed everything. And this is just another one of the growth of the Hamilton market and Television City. Good feedback on this new complex that you're building?
Yeah, I mean, I just basically, we're just sort of starting the early marketing days, you know?
Hey, is that like a $60 million deal on your phone that just...
You know what? It's a $105 million deal.
Puts it on hold.
Anyway, and I just turned my phone off. Okay. They come along, you know.
Okay.
Anyway, what was I saying?
Another shark. Get out of here.
Yeah. Just about Hamilton and what you're doing and the feedback. And
Yeah, so I thought he turned this off.
do you want to go? Do you want to? We
No,
can come back.
It's just not. It's not that
All right,
important.
it's leverage. This is leverage. Okay. Yeah, I don't need this call.
Yeah, so we're starting to talk about the city more and getting people aware of what's cool about Hamilton and what's changing. And so we sent this out to our database of people. And normally when we send something without any images or stuff like that, we get, maybe 100 responses to register. We got 350 responses in 2 days from that letter that went out. It's unprecedented. I think that we're going to get 3,000 registrations on our first tower, which we've never seen in any city in Canada. It's going to be mental. I really think it's going to be across.
That's from an email blast?
It's from a article I wrote and posted on my Instagram or Twitter, or one of those Facebook. And so, I have probably 30 or 40,000 people in my social media / web, database. And people that have bought or something before, and when you send something out, they just get sick of stuff because we're always sending shit to this database, right? So they get 300 on just an article saying, "I like Hamilton. This is what we're doing, and if you're interested, click here and go to the page." There's no information except a registration page. That's a lot. So I think it makes me think we'll have 3,000 respondents, and I'm already talking to the top guys in my office. I think my office is going to sell 65 to 70 units from their desk before anyone else gets access to that project.
Those guys must be so happy.
Wow.
Yeah. No, it's going to be great. It's really...
That's unheard of, though. That kind of response. I mean, you probably have it here and there, but that's a very high return rate on just reach out.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's because, there's a critical mass of things that happen. Like, sort of you could see this with Brooklyn when parts of Brooklyn started to get, cool acceptance, and then it just blew, And I remember when I went to Brooklyn, I'm going to say, I'll tell you, I bought a condo in New York years ago in 2009. When I was looking at condos in New York in 2009 in Brooklyn, they were $400 a foot, which is the same price they were in Toronto. And in Manhattan, they were anywhere from $900 a foot to sky's the limit. Brooklyn now is $900 a foot.
Wow.
Right, and it's because there's this critical mass of sort of coolness that takes place, and then everybody jumps on board. And Hamilton is still in the early days of that, but it's not, the game's not over. Hamilton's just at the really early days, but prices have doubled in Hamilton in the last 5 years.
Do you disclose what you'll start at square foot in Hamilton?
Yeah, I think we're now selling our product here between finished product between $850 and $1,000 a foot for typical condo, not a penthouse. Penthouse would be, $1,000 to $1,500 a foot. Wow. We're going to start there, I think, in the low fives a foot, so 30% less, and the rents are only 20% less. And the other thing is, no one's really doing our kind of stuff. There's people building condos there, but not our kind of sort of cool, modern architecture, exposed concrete, hardwood floors, high ceilings, that sort of cool stuff. When you look at it, you think it's like it's that an architect should live there, a designer. That's the kind of stuff we do.
Like we saw at the Oomph Lounge.
Exactly.
That's amazing. No, you build beautiful stuff. Wow. So and is there like when I think of Hamilton, and I think people sort of know the stereotype of Hamilton. Are people ready for that modern kind of cool new look? It's getting updated. It's like, are we all kind of coming around to that?
Like Hamilton's old slogan was, "What are you looking at?"
Well, every city has a certain number of people that want to wear a great pair of shoes or a great watch or great glasses or the right handbag, and they'll hold out to get the right thing. The same goes for housing. There's some people where it's the lowest common denominator. I need a roof over my head and I want to get something cheap. And then there's people that say, you know what, I want to get a better place. I'll go for a smaller place, but I want style. I want to feel good about where I'm living. I want to be able to brag about I live in this building, and there's some credit to that, right? So not everybody's it's not for everybody. Listen, our stuff in Toronto, if there's 100 buyers, I'm going to say 20 are going to get what we do and go, I like that. I think that's great. Sometimes people walk into my stuff and say, well, you haven't finished the ceilings. Like,
interesting.
No, it's exposed concrete. That's the look, man.
Yeah.
So that's the stuff we do, and I think there's going to be an element of people there that will love it, and some people won't get it. Like anywhere.
Well, that's good. For me, I just think though, with the kind of evolution of how everything's available online to look, you go and you type in, say, hashtag interior design on Instagram, like you'll just see a bunch of really cool stuff.
Yeah.
And in my mindset, like in even 15 years ago, sort of the outside places of, whether they weren't the main urban centers like a New York or a Toronto or a big city like stuff in LA and stuff. It's now through all of that, through, looking at a Kardashian post of her nice pool in her backyard. Like everybody kind of wants to have that sort of glamour,
yes,
which goes into a Hamilton, a Peterborough, maybe, I think people really look at style a little bit differently and it's not others like us in Toronto specifically shouldn't stereotype is what I'm saying. And I really believe that to be true, that there's a lot of stylish people in the world.
They're everywhere. And a place like Hamilton is transitioning where the population is changing. There's a lot of the current generation of new taxpayers. They're invading Hamilton in large numbers. You know that Toronto grew by 6.2% last year.
I just saw that. It's crazy.
That's doubling every like 5 or 6 years, or every 10 years. Doubles every 10 years on that pace.
Canada grew huge, like 1.7. Yeah. We're now at 35 plus million people. Yeah. I mean, that we used to always just say 30 million, and like another 5 million when you're on the 30. That's a lot of fucking people.
But Toronto will have 10 million people, I think, in 10 or 12 years.
Wow.
Huge. So just think
sort of doing that thing where its elbows are hitting everybody now. Because Hamilton, you know this better than I would ever know it, but I think they're kind of growing because it's a lot of people who are they're doing the back and forth, right?
I think you're right. I think there are people commuting. There are people that are making their life and their jobs in Hamilton, but there are people using it as a bedroom community too. So it's got both of those things. People are going to leave Toronto. They're going to leave Toronto because it's getting expensive, but that's okay. 300,000 people moved to Toronto last year. We built 30,000 homes in the entire city. That's houses and condos, 30,000. That's why prices are going through the moon.
I've heard from even just a couple of friends who are like, my home now is worth $800,000.
Yeah.
Should I sell it and maybe move outside, or in best case scenario, could people maybe try and rent it and afford? But like, what would you? I mean, I obviously want to sell stuff here in the real estate game as well. But I mean, what do you recommend to people?
All right. Well, so a guy who works for me got married, lived in a house. And I don't see houses, typically single-family homes, as investments to rent. And I said, just sell it and buy like 5 condos. He goes, no, I want to keep this house. I'm going to rent it. So he did, and he bought another house, and now he's gonna keep that house and rent it and buy another house. This guy now has like 10 properties, but he kept it, and it's gone up. It was a $700,000 house about 3 years ago when he moved out. And it's about a $950,000 house today. It was a very smart move. So
is that daunting for a lot of people, though? Like that's maybe even just outside of their comfort zone, and it's just easier just to move.
Listen. Cities like Toronto, we were so lucky to be most people having the opportunity to buy a place. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a certain element of people that didn't have that, but by and large, we were a city where most people could buy a home eventually. That's just not the truth anymore. It's not going to happen. We're going to be down to a city. We're going to be like London or Paris or Berlin. Like Berlin, 10% of people own their homes.
That's it. Vancouver market went down a little bit in terms of sales. They 40% less or something. I saw.
That's bullshit. Vancouver is Vancouver is tiny.
Yeah.
It makes me laugh that people think that real estate prices aren't going to fall in Vancouver. They're going rocket ship to the moon. But what is happening is that investors are not willing, Chinese investors, to buy new projects like they were. So development is going to dry up. And all that's going to do is make it more expensive to live there because there's less new product coming on the market. So this stupid tax was meant to cool off the market. It's just going to overheat it, make it more expensive to live in Vancouver.
What about Calgary and Edmonton? You're in those markets now.
Yeah. Calgary and Edmonton are still they're now there was a deep dive, very serious recession in Alberta, deep dive turning up now, about 4 or 5 months coming out of that. Real estate prices are on the rise, volumes are up, people are visiting sales showrooms, but after you get fucked really badly like that in an economic, like it was a terrible time. People are nervous, and they want to be sure it's real. So it's going to take. People will come back. It'll come back. Prices will go up maybe 5 or 6% this year. They have a lot of ground to make up because the Canadian economy has grown, just not there. So what'll happen is next spring will be a mental spring. Spring 2018 will be huge, but this year will be better than last year. But there'll still be people sitting on the sidelines because they're nervous. It's not real.
Is that a good place for people to buy and maybe buy in one of your developments out there and rent out? Is that
absolutely? Listen, any Canadian city that we develop, and we're in Ottawa, Hamilton, Toronto, Calgary, and Edmonton. I don't just willy-nilly jump into these places and start doing it. I analyze them very carefully, and they're all great cities with great growth opportunities.
We're pretty lucky here in Canada, right?
Very lucky. Listen, man, this is by far the best place to live in the world.
Huh?
By far.
What are your thoughts on what's going on in the States right now?
I mean, like I find it extremely irritating. It's just the media is wildly slanted against Donald Trump. It gets to me. So what it does, where I'm more or less neutral about Donald Trump, it makes me actually side with him because they're mental. They're crazy, just crazy. Everything he says, everything he does, they try to find it somehow twisted that he's lying, right? Everything, like when he says something and he should shut his mouth too. He's saying way too many stupid things. But when he says something like, the lying media or the fake media, it doesn't focus enough on terrorism, and we'll give you a list of to prove this of terrorist attacks that have not been
78
followed
terrorist attacks
properly by the media. So then the guy's like the CNN reporter for the White House, like, well, this is just absolutely absurd, holding up the list. There are 5 attacks on this 78 list of attacks where we have covered it. Okay, well, there's 5, but then there's 73 that you didn't follow properly. The point is that stop with focusing on the democratic revolution that happens every night in the cities, in the urban cores. That's okay. We get it. Democrats aren't happy. But we've got to move on now and run the country with a new president and give the guy a chance to do what he's going to do and stop second-guessing everything he does and make it news. And I got to say, I laugh at the Saturday Night Live coverage. I think that Alec Baldwin is very funny, but that's completely disrespectful. Completely disrespectful. There's a point.
It is mean-spirited. Like, it actually is.
There's a thing that I noticed immediately as a comedian that just caught my eye, but there's a lot of these continual jokes about how he wants to sleep with his daughter or marry his daughter and all this stuff. And I'm like, if somebody floated that joke about Obama, it would be wildly offensive. People would be very furious, and the conjecture would it would multiply the effect. People would hunt comedians down. But there's guys on stage talking about it. There's people online putting it out like it's haha, that's funny. I'm like, you're making some pretty disgusting comments that don't really have a punchline.
Dude, that's a fascinating way to look at it. How comedians, especially what you do, you have to be sort of so careful on how you get to people like, Mike Ward got to the Human Rights Tribunal, like for just saying a joke, picking on an audience member or whatever. But you're right, if people picked on certain people, then you'd get in shit for it and they'd hold you accountable. But if you pick on what's deemed the bully and the big asshole, you can get away with it. That doesn't make it right.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's right about this constantly holding Trump accountable for everything. I'm like, there's one thing that always sticks in my head with respect to the comment the media's not right most of the time. They fucking weren't when it came to the election. They were wildly the fuck off.
Right.
If the man who won it tells you, know how all their polls said I was losing solidly? Fuck you. He's right. He's right. It bothers the media, I'm sure. It bothers them a lot because they're also shrinking as an industry.
You know why it really bothers him? Because he will not acknowledge they exist. And that's driving him crazy. He will never give an interview to anybody. He'll never give CNN an interview. And it's like they're not being legitimized. A president is not giving them any access and legitimizing their existence. So they're doing everything they can to delegitimize him.
Do you think that they can ever accept? Like, is it possible to ever let this fight go and just kind of accept what's happened? Do you think, is it up to certain leaders in this sort of one side?
If I was Donald Trump, I'd get Steve Mnuchin or whatever his name is. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. The Treasury Secretary, and I think the Treasury Secretary manages the IRS. I think I'd put a phone call into Mnuchin and say, "Listen, I want you to do a little audit on Lorne Michaels."
I literally thought the same thing.
Last 10 years of his tax filing, let's just see if this guy's paying his taxes or not. Like, it is so inappropriate what's going on in Saturday Night Live. I love Saturday Night Live, and I think the skits are funny. I mean, they're funny, but they're absolutely not appropriate. The guy's the president of the United States. They're embarrassing themselves. This guy's running the country, and they're making him look like a fucking idiot. Yeah. And by the way, he has done some things that I don't think are smart, but he's still running the country. And I think you got to give him a chance to run the country. He won. It's now his agenda. Let him run the country.
Well, as crazy as it is, I feel like these big protests are actually turning him to the dictator, like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like they're making him, like, to the point where he'll start making calls and be like, all right, go check. If they're going to fucking rip into me, I'm just going to go and we'll check them and see what they're actually doing.
Yeah, maybe, Alec Baldwin's ex-wife went bankrupt, right? Do you remember?
Yeah.
What's her name?
Kim
Basinger. Yeah. She went bankrupt. And I just think it would be funny to see Alec Baldwin getting audited by Revenue Canada, IRS for like the last 15 years of taxes, because everybody does something, right?
Yeah.
And Baldwin's one to talk. I mean, there's that old tape of him leaving a voicemail to his daughter where he's screaming at her, right? I mean, like you're not Mr. Perfect, like at least with Trump. And we're not sitting here defending Trump, but he seems to be like a decent parent. Like he's got the respect of his kids.
It's the mechanics of how you do it. Because to Brad's point here, it is more offensive. Like I love watching this Alec Baldwin thing. And it's like laughable because he's nailing this impression in a way that I think is great. But let's take a step back to George W. Bush.
Yeah, that
was Will Ferrell. Yeah. And there was a way of playing it that was still saying, look how dumb our president is, but it was almost folksy, this over-exploded idea of how simple he was, whereas this one's just, I'm evil and I hate you.
But it wasn't every week.
No, it was. They didn't beat the drum on it.
I mean, he's a cast member now. Alec Baldwin's a cast member of Saturday Night Live. It's every week. It's too much. I think it's too much.
Did you watch the Super Bowl, Brad?
I did. It was amazing. I bet I was the only one. So there's 9 of my buddies there. Everyone bet against me. I bet on the Patriots. And they were all gloating. It's 21-3. And I'm like, guys, this ain't over, man. This guy's a winner. This team is a winning team. Guys like Tom Brady don't give up. I love that about him. That's why I think he's great. I think he's not the most athletic guy in the world. The tools that he's got are probably not as much as some other, guys that aren't like Michael Vick, not playing anymore. But the guy's a winner. He's got the ability to use his will to win, and that was fucking marvelous. That was amazing to watch.
Beyond me,
fan.
I'm a huge fan too, yeah. and I said the same when I saw that moment.
But so I won. So I took the over under. So I took the spread. So I
How much
said,
you bet?
I bet I would bet thousands, but my friends don't bet thousands. So I bet the total pool was $400.
Awesome.
It was okay. Yeah, $400 for. But it was the fun of it was that I called it. I said, this is going to happen. They're going to tie the game at 28, and then they're going to get a touchdown. They're going to get the ball and get a touchdown. Because if they got a field goal and won, I would have lost.
It was because it was 3. It would have been exactly.
I needed 4. So it was so beautiful to watch.
And then your buddies are like, of course the money goes to Brad. Yeah. Probably chirping you after, like, oh, Brad needs the money.
Well, it was fantastic.
It always is.
That game was so weird because I was in a plane for that. I was like flying back from Newfoundland, and they got on and they announced it. Like, anyone who's curious, it's 24-3 right now. They just tell the score, and you can hear Yeah. By the time we landed, the whole game had changed.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
Best game ever, I think. Best football game ever.
I think the best game, any game ever. Like the best just sporting event of all time.
Yeah, because what's great about football, it's winner takes all, right? So it's no game 7. It's like one game, and you got to put it out there. And unbelievable how that happened. It really is a testament to that guy.
And not done on like the way soccer does it with penalty kicks.
Oh, sorry, soccer.
It's so
just walking away from a game 0-0. Go away.
So I know those guys are fit and very talented. They really are, but I just can't get into soccer.
I tried. I went to the championship game, so I'll bandwagon jump all the time.
Yeah.
Or jump on the bandwagon, I guess. But it's just not. What is that, Andy? We'll get. Oh, it's a listener.
Yeah.
For Brad.
Yeah.
Okay, a listener here for Brad. What's your name?
It's Melissa.
Hi, Melissa.
Hi, long-time listener.
Thank you.
Long-time caller. It was terrible to see the Falcons lose. It was terrible to see Hillary lose. Everything's shitty. Everything sucks. I want to kill myself.
Don't do that.
I'm kidding. There's too much chocolate and food in the world to do that.
Thanks, Melissa, for your call. Okay. I don't think she had a real estate question. Okay.
I thought she was going to call me like, listen, here's the thing about Trump. And she's like, I just feel really bad about him.
Well, what was crazy, and Brad, I'm sure you saw this, and I talked about it yesterday a bit, the not my Super Bowl champions. Did you see this? trending because the Brady and Belichick, they're all like Trump guys. They like Trump. And like, I'm like, fuck you guys. Like, don't politicize the game.
You just have to see Tom Brady's tryout tape with the New England Patriots to know he is everybody's hero. That guy, man, it's embarrassing to watch. Like, he ran the 40 in like 7 seconds.
Wow. He's a skinny,
He's
awkward
so
guy, right?
pigeon-toed and can't run properly. And the guy was drafted in the 7th round. His dad got him effectively arranged to have him go to the school he went to, which was not a great, not a great school. I think it was a school in Michigan. I could be wrong, but he's just a guy that was always been an underdog his entire life, and now he's an overdog, and everyone hates him. He's always been an underdog,
and he does it with such class, and always thanks his teammates. Like I love. Like remember he gave the truck 2 years ago, the MVP to the guy who made a big play.
You know what? He's just a winner, and people hate winners who win all the time. They get bored of it. But he deserves everything he's getting because he works incredibly hard. The guy's 38 years old. He's the fittest guy on the team.
I would have retired at that win. I can't imagine. And what about his wife cheering him on? Imagine having the support of a woman like that. Look.
You have the support of a woman.
No,
like
I know.
that.
It's my 3-year anniversary today, actually.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Nice.
I made it 3 years, and a lot of people are shocked. Very shocked. I had one last question for you. Oh my God. It was kind of about the athletes. Maybe a personal one. I don't know what kind of confidentiality there's, but like when you've been doing this for so long, Brad J. Lamb Realty, you started off as a realtor. Actually, Dom had a nice story when you first moved to Toronto from Ottawa.
It's like I mentioned it to him because you're here. I've actually been wanting to meet you for a while.
Really?
Because when I first came here, I was driving from Ottawa, and I was just sort of like moving to the big city kind of moment, and I saw these billboards all over the place, and it was you and your team and the bodies of sheep floating, I think, in space, and I went, who the fuck is Brad Lamb? And I literally went to open mics and asked people, and everyone knew who you were, and I felt like I'd come from a different country or something. It was great.
You know, it's funny you bring that up because I'm doing my next Billboard campaign. I finally settled on it, and I haven't done that weird head on a lamb thing for I think 8 or 9 years. I kind of moved. I just when you're developing, you're borrowing lots of money. You got to be a bit more serious, I think. Anyway, I decided to go back to that.
Nice.
So this year it's my head on a lamb in a 3-piece suit. The suit's a bit short, so you can see the hairy, and I have a little briefcase beside me, and I'm
the lamb's all grown up.
The lamb's he's 8 years older.
He's done well.
He's serious, but he's still in space. He's still in space.
He's very serious. That ad made it to Ellen DeGeneres.
Did it?
Yeah.
I can see why, man. It was very eye-catching, immediately.
The coolest. I mean, it shows you're self-deprecating as a successful guy, which is important. I was going to say, can you talk about certain special clients you've done business with, like an athlete, or I'm sure. I mean, that's a big part of it, right? Or is there something really cool you can talk about?
We've done deals with athletes, but not it's funny in all these years because I've sold I think 30,000 properties. And in all these years, I'm going to say maybe 6 or 7 really famous people.
Huh.
And it's not Madonna, it's not Prince, no one like that. Mostly what we've done is sell property to the every person, right? Our thing has always been that we're, mostly in the condominium side of things, but condominiums are kind of affordable, right? So they're more and I've always tried to do hip stuff and focus on those kind of buildings. So we've mostly sold to just the Joe and female everyone. Joe and Joe.
Jill?
Jack and Joe?
Jack and Joe.
Yeah.
Or Joe and Joe. Hey,
Male
it's a new
and
world.
Joe? Yeah,
Male and female everybody's.
I love it. Well, and the Trump impersonators, too. We got some. Brad, thank you very much. I might have missed some of the questions, but you had fun.
Yeah.
We didn't pitch him any ideas today. We'll pitch you ideas next week. Back next Wednesday?
Yeah.
Cool. You doing something cool this weekend?
Next week, on Thursday, I'm going to the Bahamas with my daughter for 5 days.
Cool.
I'm bringing my nanny, so it's when you travel with a kid alone as a guy, there's a lot of stimulus required. It's exhausting.
Listen, I went to an all-inclusive with my wife and the kid, and it doesn't become an all-inclusive anymore. You might as well just be in a trailer anywhere.
No, you're right. It's a lot. It's actually a lot of work to travel with a young kid.
It's a lot of work.
She's gonna have a blast.
Thank you very much. We should bring the whole show there, but Brad J. Lamb, TorontoCondos.com.
Todd Shapiro Show.
Hey, thanks for watching that video. You can subscribe over there, or you can watch another video over here. And I think this is the Daniel Bryan yes chant. So what the hell? Yes, yes, Todd Shapiro Show. Daniel Bryan can't wrestle anymore. It's a very sad story.